This is Double D in the Friday Morning, episode 28, The History of Cartoons, part 19, the story of the late great June Foray. As the title says, she was born on September 18, 1917, and died on July 26, 2017, just 2 months shy of her 100th birthday. She was born one of 3 children in Springfield, Massachusetts, to Ida and Morris Foray. As a child, she wanted to dance and took classes for a while, but had to drop out because of a bad case of pneumonia. She started doing local voice work in 1929 at the age of 12, but by 15 she was doing regular voice work and had already started to establish a name for herself. In 1937, her family moved from Springfield to LA after her dad fell on hard times financially. After entering radio through the WBZA players, in 1937 she earned her own show, Lady Make-Believe. She went to do 19 other radio shows from 1937 to 2007. Her traditional radio stopped in 79, but she did, years later in 07, she did one more show. So she did a total of 20. She was on a lot of famous radio shows, Amos and Andy, The Jimmy Durant Show, several, Too Many to mention. But she gained fame on the radio on that Lady Make-Believe. She was the writer and the narrator of not just Lady Make-Believe, but the characters too. After she had started doing Warner Brothers work, but she was still doing radio, in 1957 she was on the Stan Freberg radio show. In this part of the video, I'm going to be talking about her Warner Brothers days. The character of WITCHHAZEL was originally portrayed in 1954 by B. Bernadette. In 1956, she took over the role. For 3 more shorts in the golden age of animation era, Broomstick Bunny, Tangled, and the last 2 times she appeared as the character was A Haunting We Will Go and The Bugs Bunny Show from 1960 to 1962. Mel and June were frequent collaborators with one another. In her first short as the Granny character, in 1955's This Is Alive, she was an audience member on the audience for the show that was honoring Bugs Bunny. In 1955's This Is Alive, a lot of people think in 55 is when she started voicing the character. This is just when she took over for B. Bernadette. Hair Trimmed in 1953 was the first time she did the character. In this particular short, her character is an old widow that inherited $50 million, and Yosemite Sam finds out about it and wants to marry her for the money. But then Bugs also hears his plot and tries to stop him. Yosemite Sam and June's woman character are paired up again in 1959's Honey's Money, which is a redo of the other cartoon I just mentioned. Here is a shot of Yosemite Sam and the lady's wedding. This next one I'm going to talk about is 1955's Red Riding Hoodwinked. Red Riding Hoodwinked was a Sylvester and Tweety cartoon where Little Red Riding Hood was carrying Tweety to her grandmother. From 1955 to 1968, she was the owners and protectors of Tweety from Sylvester. She owned them both, but she was protecting Tweety from the cat. June's character Granny did a great job protecting Tweety, but often had help from her bulldog Hector. She didn't always do Granny. She frequently did miscellaneous characters, like in Ape's Wrath, where she played the wife. In 1996, she reprised the role of Granny. The character had a cameo in the 1996 movie Space Jam, in 1959's Ape's Wrath. Just before Space Jam, she reprised her role as Granny again in 1995 to 2000 in Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries. From 2002 to 2005, she also reprised her role once again on Baby Looney Tunes, which was a Looney Tunes version of the Muppet Babies, except the nanny's face, aka being Granny, was shown. For 5 seasons, from 59 to 64, she voiced 2 of her most famous characters, Natasha and Rocky the Squirrel, as well as other miscellaneous characters. Like many other June Foray collaborations I've mentioned, she also had a partner when she was doing the Rocky character. This is Bill Scott, the voice of Bullwinkle, and this is his Bullwinkle character. On the show, June's Rocky was kind of the brain between the two, and Bullwinkle was the bullhead, if you will. She also had another character companion, Boris, when she was doing the Natasha, her co-partner in the villain part of the show. This is Paul Frees, the voice of Boris. The characters of Boris and Natasha were Sloblobian. They were actually Russian, but they weren't going to say it back in the Cold War days. They were the antagonists of the show. In 1950, she started working for Disney and voiced Lucifer the cat in Cinderella. She did the meows and the growls for the antagonist in the movies, the cat. In 1952's Lambert the Sheepish Lion, the lion that got delivered to a lamb mother by the stork from Dumbo, here, the stork that was voiced by Starling Holloway. She voiced Lambert's mother, the lamb mom. She had a bit part in the 1953 movie Peter Pan as the ugly SQUAW character of the Indians, the mother-in-law. In 1954's Trick or Treat, she plays a witch named WITCHHAZEL, no relation to the Warner Brothers WITCHHAZEL, that gets even with Clarence Ducky Nash's Donald Duck. In this part, I'm going to talk about June's Mgm years, which were 51 to 65. In 1952's One Cab's Family, she played the mother and a nurse. In One Cab's Family is very similar to Little Johnny Jet, which she also plays the mother, coincidentally named Mary, a jet plane, who is married to an old B-29 warplane. In 1954, she started playing the character Joan of Joan and George. Joan and George were the owners of Tom and Jerry, and George was voiced by Daws Butler. From 81 to 89, she worked for Hanna-Barbera and worked for the Smurfs. This is what she looked like in that time period. She played the fan-favorite character Jokey. After the Smurfs ended after 9 seasons, she started working for Disney again, but this time for their television division. This is Magica the Spell, which she played from 87 to 90. She was one of the antagonists of the show DuckTales, that featured Alan Long and Russi Taylor, of the Scrooge-like Uncle Scrooge McDuck and his nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie. She was one of the antagonists. Alan Long was Scrooge McDuck, Russi Taylor was the nephews. From 85 to 91, she was on the show The Adventures of the Gummy Bears. She played Grammy Gummy. For the first movie that was released in 98 to the direct-to-video sequel, she played Mulan's grandmother, Grandma Fa. The story about the female warrior that had to hide her identity and helped save China. This is Mulan. This was her co-star Ming Na, the title character voice of Mulan. She was in this movie Mulan and its direct-to-video sequel, Mulan 2, that was released in February of 2005. Now in this part of the video I'm talking about influences that she influenced. This is E.G. Daily. She started voicing in 91. This is Jennifer Hale. She started voicing in, I think, 95. This is Gray Delisle. She started voicing in 92. This is Tara Strong. She started voicing in 86. June Foray, there is so much that the art world has learned from you and been influenced by you. You are one of the greatest voice people of your time and still of humankind ever. The world of the voice industry looks upon you with greatness. You made these 4 other women that I mentioned a scene or so back who they are for their influence. This is the topic of my next video, for next Friday's video, Janet Waldo. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and hit the notification bell if you like this video. Also, don't forget to follow me on my social media at Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, and my Facebook fan group, Drew's YouTube fan group. The links will be in the comments. And if you like this video, you're really going to like next Friday's Double D in the Friday Morning episode 29, History of Cartoons Part 20, The Story of Janet Waldo, February 4th, 1919 to June 12th, 2016. She's gone, but she's certainly not forgotten. This last picture is a picture of Judy Jetson, one of Janet Waldo's best known characters.